Welcome back, nail YouTubers, to another video on my girl's channel. Check out her nails as she makes your life a little bit better per second.
Alright guys, let's get started with this tutorial on how to put together this 3D acrylic flower. So I've been getting a lot of requests on how to put this together, so let's go ahead and get started. And so I'm using this practice finger that I got from Amazon, and I am using the color Perfect Nude from Valentino, and I'm doing a basic application. So I'm just putting down my first bead of acrylic. Alright, now that I'm done with my first bead, I am going to make sure it is all cleaned up and smooth, and I'm going to add the next bead of acrylic. So when you're adding this bead, just make sure that you are not losing all of your consistency and it's not all running down to the tip. Remember where we need the strength and how we want the overall nail to look. So just make sure you keep that in mind as you are working the acrylic down. Okay, so also the temperature of the room plays a big role, so just keep everything in mind, which brand you're using, which monomer you're using. Just keep all that in mind when you are working. And now I'm going to add the cuticle bead, and then we are going to be done with this application. Super easy and smooth. As you can see, the nail is pretty smooth, but I'm still gonna go in and file it with my hand file, and then it'll be ready for the French tip that we're going to do. So these are my tools that I will be using, and as you can see, I applied a matte coat over it so that I have a nice and smooth surface. I do like using a regular base as well, but I just had this matte top coat handy, so I decided to use it. So as you can see, I'm just making lines from the side of the nail to the tip, and then this line here that I'm doing now is going to decide how deep or how down the French is going to go. And then I'm going to just make a smile. You can make it a little bit deeper and thinner at the tip. If you, when you're doing the first two initial lines, you do them closer together and making it more of a V shape. But doing it this way will give you kind of a standard smile. So it's kind of more rounded and not as oval. Okay, so I'm just going around and making sure that it is round, and that is what it's gonna look like. And then I'm gonna use long strokes to fill in the rest of the nail. You can see I take my time to make sure that there isn't any lines of demarcation or any missing spots. So here you're gonna really just perfect it. I really like using this Young Nails paint because I don't have to go over it twice. I just go over it once, and it saves a lot of time, especially when I'm doing it on clients. It has been a lifesaver. And I didn't realize that until I used a regular white, or before I was using a regular white, and then I used this one, and then I was like, whoa, I only need to use one coat of this. So when I get to the middle part, I just do it sideways and try to get it as even and full without it being too bulky. A lot of the times you can use that same product you already have there and kind of drag it around. That way you're not adding more product onto the nail, and you're keeping that nice smooth look throughout the nail. So that is what it looks like. Okay, so then I added a top coat on it, another matte top coat on it, and now I am going to start the flower process. So now I placed down my first bead, and this is a size 2 brush that I got from Amazon, and I'm just kind of testing it out, making sure that it is at the point where it's ready to mold. And you can start with any petal. You can do 4 petals or 5 petals depending on your level where you're at, but don't be afraid to try it out separately before you do it on your nail, just so that you make sure you're getting into the motion of it, which is something I should have done, but the flowers still came out really cute. I think it was the second petal I did it a little bit too low. When you want to do it 1 petal and then 2 on the sides and then 2 on the bottom. But the placement is also important, but also kind of the timing of the bead and when you're letting it go, and then when you're starting to sculpt it. So just keep that in mind. As long as it is not dry, the acrylic is nice and moldable, and you can really do it however you would like to. So at this point, you can add the little rhinestone. You can add the rhinestone at first, but I like to add it at the end with a little bit of either glue or acrylic. I usually do glue on my clients, but in this case I did use a clear acrylic to add on the little rhinestone. So now I'm going to do my third little petal, and when you're doing these petals on the side, you want to make sure that everything is in relation to the rhinestone. So now I'm going to add the final beads on this flower, and here you can see I tried to do all of them the same size, but that's just depending on how evenly you're cleaning off your brush after each petal. So just keep that in mind when you're putting yours together. You can put it together separately if you have a practice mat like how I have underneath, or you can just put it together on the nail just as so. Another thing that I have not mentioned is you can add a little bit of, is it acetone? Yeah, I think it's acetone. You can add a little bit of acetone to make it dry a little bit faster, but I just waited about 5 seconds, and yeah, pretty much it.
It's your boy. Hey, if you like my girl's hand-painted deep French tip with acrylic flower, make sure you like and subscribe at the end of the video. Help my girl out. Thank you.